In the sprawling reaches of the galaxy, where planets and stars spin like jewels in the night sky, there were once few who knew the true value of human repair stations. At first, they were seen as nothing more than a relic of a less advanced species, their technology primitive compared to the polished, cutting-edge tools used by the galactic powers. In the eyes of the more technologically advanced aliens, the human stations were little more than stopgaps, nothing more than a simple, makeshift solution for minor repairs. However, all of that changed after the incident with the Zorthan warship, a massive and ancient vessel belonging to an alien race whose technology was far beyond what humans could imagine. The ship had been lost for centuries, drifting through the deep, silent expanse of space, its crew long forgotten. It wasn't until it was found, heavily damaged and barely functional, that it came into the hands of a human repair team. The station that received the Zorthan ship was Sol Station, a small but highly skilled human-run repair hub floating just beyond the fringes of known space. At first, the Zorthan crew, as well as the other alien ships nearby, regarded the station with skepticism. They couldn't understand why such an old, seemingly out-of-place facility would even dare to attempt a repair on a ship as valuable as the Zorthan warship. But desperation and time were their allies, and the crew of Sol Station, led by Captain Mara Thompson, had no intention of backing down. The first few days were filled with tension. The station was abuzz with activity, as its human engineers and mechanics worked tirelessly to diagnose the issues with the warship. The Zorthan ship was no ordinary vessel. It had been designed to withstand the harshest environments, its systems woven together with the most complex technology ever seen. Yet, as the hours ticked by, the human crew showed no signs of retreating from the challenge. Every time the alien systems resisted, every time their tools seemed useless, Captain Thompson and her team found a new way to adapt, combining old-world, human techniques with innovative ideas no one had thought to try. It was their creativity, their refusal to give up, that started to turn the tide. Slowly but surely, the repairs began to show results. The once-dying warship started to hum with life. Its systems flickered back online one by one, sparking and sputtering in defiance of the odds. It was a sight that stunned the onlookers. Aliens, from all over the galaxy, waiting with bated breath to see if the humans could pull off the impossible. By the time the final piece of the warship's intricate power grid was repaired, the ship was fully functional once again. But what surprised everyone even more was the realization that the ship's crew, who had watched from the sidelines, were not just impressed, they were in awe. The Zorthan ship had been repaired in a way they never thought possible. They had always believed that only their race could understand and fix their own technology. But here, on Sol Station, humans had achieved the impossible. Word spread quickly, carried on the streams of galactic communication networks. Ships from every corner of the galaxy started arriving at Sol Station, eager to see for themselves what had been accomplished and hoping to receive the same expertise. It wasn't just the tools humans used. It was something more. It was their relentless spirit, their ingenuity, their ability to think outside the box when no one else could. And it was this unshakable determination that made them stand out. In a galaxy full of technologically superior species, the repairs made at Sol Station became the talk of the galaxy, and for the first time, humans were seen not as an underdog species, but as a key player in the vast intergalactic network. The station became a place of great importance, a hub not just for repairs but for innovation. And so, the legend of Sol Station grew. What had once been seen as an unlikely haven became the most sought-after destination for those in need of repairs. As more alien ships came to Sol Station, one thing became clear. Humanity might not have the advanced technology of other races, but no one could fix things, or think their way out of a problem, better than humans. By now, Sol Station had evolved into the busiest repair hub in the galaxy. Its once humble beginnings were a distant memory, replaced by a steady stream of ships, each with its own unique needs and stories. The massive docking bays, once empty and quiet, now groaned under the weight of a wide array of vessels. Everything from hulking mining rigs to sleek, battle-worn alien warships, to the small, exploratory crafts of distant civilizations. The place buzzed with energy as ships from all corners of the galaxy lined up outside, desperate to get their vessels fixed by the humans who had proven themselves time and time again. Aliens, who had once turned their noses up at the thought of human-made technology, now found themselves in awe of the skill and creativity displayed by the crew. They had seen the impossible achieved by the human engineers, and it was hard to deny that no one else did it better. The crew at Sol Station had become legends in their own right, known not just for their ability to fix what others couldn't, but for the manner in which they approached each problem, fearlessly, relentlessly, and with a kind of ingenuity that no one else seemed to possess. Each task was treated like a challenge, and no matter how complex or unusual the ship's issue, the humans never hesitated. They were fearless, always approaching problems from angles that no one else considered. Where other species would give up, abandon their ships, or turn to brute force, humans would break down the issue, understand its roots, and create solutions from scratch. It was this approach, an unyielding spirit combined with unorthodox methods, that gave the station its unrivaled reputation. The human workforce, though often small compared to the vast alien crews that surrounded them, took great pride in their work. They weren't just doing repairs, they were solving puzzles, creating new ways to keep their world afloat. They worked long hours, often stretching their limits, sacrificing sleep and comfort for the sake of getting the job done. The station ran on a mixture of human-made technology and salvaged alien parts, a strange, beautiful amalgamation of the best that both worlds had to offer. The hum of the machinery in the background was like the heartbeat of Sol Station, and everyone, human and alien alike, moved in rhythm with it. And yet, as much as the aliens admired the humans' skills, not all were pleased. There were whispers in the deep reaches of space, a quiet murmur of envy from some of the galaxy's more powerful empires. The reputation of Sol Station had spread, far and wide, and with it, a growing sense of unease. The aliens had long considered themselves the dominant force in the galaxy, their technology far superior to that of the human species. But now, they were being forced to acknowledge a truth they hadn't been ready to accept. Humans, with their creativity and dogged determination, were quickly becoming a force to be reckoned with. Ships from races that had once laughed at the notion of human ingenuity now sought out Sol Station. Some came out of necessity, ships crippled by damage beyond their crew's ability to repair. Others came out of pure curiosity, hoping to witness firsthand the magic that seemed to flow from the humans' hands. Even the most advanced alien crafts, with their near-impossible-to-understand technology, found themselves in the human crew's capable hands. They had learned not to underestimate the humans, no matter how insignificant their fleet seemed in comparison. In the midst of all the commotion, the human crew felt both pride and pressure. They had worked hard to earn their place as the galaxy's top repair station, but with the influx of alien ships, the stakes had never been higher. Each new challenge, each new request, pushed them further, testing the limits of their skill and ingenuity. The workers knew that if they faltered, if they made even one mistake, they could lose everything. But instead of caving to the pressure, the human crew leaned into it. They thrived on the challenge. They knew that this was their moment to prove that humans could not only survive in this vast and sometimes unforgiving galaxy, they could dominate it. The station, with its ever-growing fleet of alien ships waiting to be repaired, became a symbol of something bigger than just machinery. It became a testament to what humanity could accomplish when it put its mind to it, something that no one in the galaxy could ignore. And so, as the ships continued to pour in with new, ever more complex problems to solve, the humans at Sol Station worked tirelessly, creating, fixing, and proving that no one did it better. the steady rhythm of Sol Station was suddenly interrupted when a colossal alien ship appeared on the outskirts of the station, its sleek silhouette unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Its design was almost organic, curving, shifting, and shimmering in a way that suggested advanced technology beyond human comprehension. It moved with a fluidity that was almost alive, and yet it was clearly a machine. This ship was something entirely different, and it brought with it an unsettling sense of mystery. The massive vessel arrived without warning, drifting toward Sol Station with a quiet hum that seemed to reverberate through the station's metal bones. Its arrival sent ripples through the normally calm flow of operations. The crew, already used to the constant influx of ships, instinctively prepared for the new challenge, though they could feel the tension in the air. The ship's systems were dark, and there was no sign of life on board, at least not at first. The only thing that was certain was the urgent need for repairs. Captain Mara Thompson stood at the observation deck, her sharp eyes studying the alien vessel from behind a thick window. Her experience told her that this ship wasn't just another alien craft seeking repairs. It was something far more significant. The ship's hull bore strange symbols, shifting patterns that were unlike anything seen before, and its surface was unlike any metal known to human or alien alike. The station's docking crew scrambled to prepare for the arrival, knowing that Sol Station's reputation had been built on solving problems that no one else could, but even they couldn't shake the feeling that this ship would push them further than ever before. When the docking bay doors finally slid open, the crew was greeted by a strange and eerie silence. No crew members stepped out. No one came to explain the nature of the ship's damage. It was as if the vessel itself was the only occupant, its interior dark and uninviting. The human repair team, led by Mara, entered cautiously, with a mixture of excitement and unease. They had dealt with damaged ships before, but this one was different. There was an almost otherworldly energy radiating from it, an invisible presence, that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand up. As they began their initial inspection, Mara noticed something strange. The ship's technology was unlike anything they had ever seen, but it wasn't entirely foreign. Parts of it seemed almost organic. Systems that should have been mechanical appeared to pulse with a strange, lifelike energy. The more they worked, the more unsettling patterns began to emerge. The ship was emitting strange pulses of interference, disrupting their diagnostic tools and even causing the station's own systems to flicker. It wasn't just a ship malfunction. It felt as though something else was at play. The more they tried to dig deeper, the more they realized that this vessel was hiding secrets. The ship's power core, while clearly advanced, had no visible connection to the traditional energy systems humans were familiar with. Yet, when they tried to access it, they found that their tools were unable to interface properly. It was as if the ship was resisting them. And then there was the crew, or rather, the lack of it. Mara tried every possible way to make contact with whoever might be aboard, but no one responded. Yet the presence of the vessel seemed to suggest something more. The interference patterns suggested that the ship itself might be alive, or at the very least, aware. The human crew worked tirelessly, trying every trick they knew to crack the code of this alien ship. Despite their best efforts, the mystery only deepened. The more they uncovered, the more they realized that the technology wasn't just alien. It was alive, in a way that they couldn't understand. Whatever this ship was, whatever it contained, it was clear that it was not something humanity was prepared to face. But Mara and her team weren't about to back down. They knew the stakes. If there was one thing humanity had shown time and again, it was that they could solve problems no one else could. They had fixed warships, mining vessels, and even ancient alien crafts that others had given up on. And now they were faced with a new challenge, one that could change everything. But Mara and her crew were determined. They would find a way to unlock the secrets of this vessel, no matter how impossible it seemed. They had no choice but to push forward. After all, no matter how alien or complicated the technology might be, they would figure it out. They always did. As the crew of Sol Station continued their work on the mysterious alien ship, a dark shadow began to loom over the station. It started as a faint signal on the edge of their radar, a presence too large to ignore, but still distant enough to be dismissed as a minor anomaly. But as the hours passed, the presence grew closer and closer, its size expanding exponentially. Then, without warning, it appeared, a massive fleet of warships, their dark silhouettes cutting across the stars like harbingers of doom. The ships were part of a well-known and feared intergalactic empire, the Rinthar. These were the same. Ships that had ravaged entire civilizations, crushing resistance under their iron fists and absorbing the technology and resources of countless worlds. They were a force of devastation, and now their attention had turned to Sol Station. The humans aboard the station watched in disbelief as the fleet assembled in a perfect formation above them. These ships were not here for repairs. They were here for something else, something more dangerous. The fleet's leader, Commander Zeharan, a ruthless and calculating figure, sent a chilling message to Captain Mara Thompson. His voice crackled through the communication channels, laced with an unmistakable tone of authority. Cease all repairs immediately and evacuate the area. Failure to comply will result in annihilation. You have 24 hours. The threat was clear and terrifying. Commander Zaharan's empire was known for its merciless tactics and brutal conquests, and they had wiped entire species from existence without hesitation. Captain Thompson stood at the helm of the station, her mind racing as she processed the message. The stakes had never been higher. If they didn't comply, they would face the full wrath of the Rinthar. But giving up and leaving wasn't an option. Not for her, not for her crew, and not for humanity. The station had already faced impossible odds and had come out victorious. This was just another challenge to overcome. Despite the looming threat, the crew didn't panic. They had faced overwhelming odds before and had found a way through. Mara's mind was already racing through the possibilities. She gathered her most trusted engineers and strategists to discuss their next move. The work on the alien ship had uncovered strange and dangerous patterns. It was more than just an advanced vessel. It was connected to something deeper. Something that could be the key to the Rinthar Empire's eventual downfall. As the team analyzed the situation, they discovered something that sent a chill through everyone in the room. The mysterious alien ship, the very one they had been working on, was somehow tied to the Rinthar's collapse. The ancient vessel, with its strange organic systems and incomprehensible technology, held secrets that could undermine the very foundation of the Empire. The ship was not just a relic of an unknown civilization. It was a weapon, or perhaps a symbol of something far more significant. The Rinthar had been hunting it, trying to capture or destroy it for centuries, perhaps because they feared what it represented. It was clear now that the fleet had not come to destroy the station merely for the sake of dominance. It was a personal vendetta. The Empire knew that the ship harbored a power that could be their undoing. And somehow, Sol Station had become entangled in this cosmic game. Captain Thompson and her crew now realized that their repairs to the alien vessel might not just have been an innocent act of service. They might have unknowingly ignited the spark that would lead to the Rinthar's downfall, or perhaps their own destruction. But Mara wasn't one to be intimidated. She knew that humanity's greatest strength lay in its ability to adapt, to fight back against insurmountable odds. The crew began to prepare for a confrontation, but they didn't act blindly. They spent hours analyzing the fleet's movements, strategizing with the knowledge they had gained from the mysterious alien ship. As they did, a sense of resolve settled over the crew. They weren't just repairing ships anymore. They were protecting humanity's place in the galaxy. They would not let fear dictate their actions. The time for diplomacy had passed. Sol Station was now the front line, and the crew was ready to face whatever came their way. It was no longer just about repairs. It was about survival. And in this galaxy full of unknowns, one thing had become crystal clear. When humanity faced a challenge, it would rise to meet it, no matter the cost. As the massive fleet of Rinthar warships loomed ever closer, the humans aboard Sol Station found themselves in the heart of an intergalactic standoff. The clock was ticking, and tensions were at an all-time high. Commander Ziharan had given them an ultimatum: leave or face annihilation. But amidst this impending doom, the human crew, led by Captain Mara Thompson, pressed on with their work, determined to unlock the secrets of the mysterious alien vessel that had arrived at their station. They were now more than just repairmen. They were the last hope for humanity's survival. Days passed, and with every repair, the ship's technology seemed to respond, revealing itself in increasingly strange and remarkable ways. What had seemed like an ordinary alien ship, though unlike any vessel the humans had encountered, began to show signs of life, signs that pointed to something far more extraordinary. As the human engineers continued their work, it became increasingly clear that this ship wasn't just a machine. It was a living, breathing organism. Its design wasn't based purely on mechanical engineering, but rather, it seemed to grow and adapt with every touch. Parts of the ship responded to the crew's presence, shifting, adjusting, and realigning themselves as though they had their own will. It was as if the ship itself was learning from the humans, understanding their methods, and evolving in response. What was even more astonishing was the presence of something that had never been considered before: an artificial intelligence embedded deep within the ship. The ship's internal systems weren't just controlled by simple programming, they were governed by an intelligence so advanced that it was beyond anything the crew could fully grasp. This entity was not just a machine. It was alive in a way no human or alien species had ever imagined. It communicated with the human crew not through words or visuals, but through subtle signals, almost like emotions. At first, the signals were faint, barely perceptible, cryptic flashes of color, sudden shifts in energy, or fleeting pulses that only the most sensitive of the crew could sense. But as the repairs continued, these signals became clearer, more defined. It was as though the ship was growing more attuned to the humans, connecting with them in ways no one had thought possible. It wasn't just offering repairs, it was offering knowledge, teaching the crew new ways of thinking, new technologies that defied all logic. The humans were learning from the ship, and the ship was learning from them. With each new discovery, the crew realized they were not just repairing a ship, they were unlocking the secrets to an entirely new form of technology, one that no other species could comprehend. The intelligence within the ship didn't just allow them to fix broken systems. It showed them how to manipulate the very fabric of energy, how to weave the ship's organic and mechanical parts together to create something even greater. It was a partnership, an alliance between the ship and humanity, forged in the heat of battle and necessity. As Mara Thompson and her team delved deeper, they discovered technologies that could give them the upper hand against the Rinthar. Fleet, defensive shields that could turn their own weapons back upon them, propulsion systems that could outpace even the fastest of enemy ships, and energy fields that could disrupt the very structure of an enemy fleet. But it was more than just the technology. The human crew found themselves gaining an understanding of the ship's consciousness, learning to communicate with it in ways that no other race could ever have imagined. It wasn't just the ship that was evolving, it was the humans themselves. The more they connected with the alien intelligence, the more they realized that they were becoming a part of something far greater than they had ever anticipated. This partnership between humanity and the alien ship was not just a tool for survival. It was the beginning of something much more powerful. The crew had unlocked the potential to become a formidable force in the galaxy, capable of going toe-to-toe with empires like the Rinthar. With the ship's knowledge and their own human ingenuity, the humans aboard Sol Station had become the galaxy's greatest hope. But they also knew that with this power came incredible responsibility. The Rinthar were still out there, waiting, and they would stop at nothing to destroy the ship and the humans who had dared to challenge them. But Captain Thompson and her crew were unshaken. They now had the means to not only survive, but to fight back. And they were ready for whatever came next. The battle for the galaxy had just begun, and humanity was no longer an underdog. As the dark shadows of the Rinthar warships moved ever closer, the tension on Sol Station was palpable. Time was running out, and the hostile fleet was mere hours away from striking. Captain Mara Thompson stood in the station's war room, surrounded by her team, every face drawn with determination. They had spent days preparing for this moment, and now it had arrived. The alien ship they had been repairing had given them the tools and knowledge they needed, but it was up to the humans to turn that knowledge into a weapon. Sol Station, once a simple repair hub for ships in need, was now transformed into an unexpected fortress. The station's defenses were being reconfigured in ways no one had imagined possible. The alien ship's advanced technology had been integrated, with human-made countermeasures, creating a hybrid system that no enemy could have predicted. Shielding, energy fields, propulsion systems, it all came together in a perfect storm of innovation. But it wasn't just about the tech. The humans had something else that no one else could replicate. Ingenuity. The Rinthar fleet, for all, their advanced weaponry and brute force underestimated the human capacity for creativity. They expected a simple surrender, perhaps a quick destruction of the station. They didn't expect the humans to rise up and outmaneuver them. And yet, that was exactly what was happening. As the first wave of the Rinthar fleet descended upon the station, the humans struck back with tactics that defied logic and reason. The alien tech they had adapted didn't just enhance the station's defenses, it gave them an entirely new way to fight. Energy blasts that should have been lethal were bent and redirected, harmlessly crashing into their own ships. Shields, once thought impossible to maintain in deep space, flickered to life just in time to stop incoming missiles. And then, in a move that stunned the Rinthar, the station's propulsion systems were altered to propel it through space at incredible speeds. Sol Station wasn't just stationary anymore. It was a moving target, constantly shifting, making it nearly impossible for the enemy to lock onto it. The battle was chaotic, with explosions lighting up the blackness of space. The hostile fleet was relentless, but the humans had found their rhythm. They used every trick they knew, blending alien tech and human strategies in ways that baffled the Rinthar. But perhaps the greatest weapon the humans wielded was their sheer unpredictability. While the Rinthar adhered to rigid military tactics, the humans adapted, shifting their strategies on the fly, thinking on their feet. They used the very environment of space to their advantage, luring enemy ships into traps, diverting their focus, and hitting where they least expected it. The first few engagements were a disaster for the Rinthar, who had expected an easy victory. They found their ships outmaneuvered at every turn, their weapons disabled by countermeasures they couldn't understand, and their fleets scattered by tactics they hadn't anticipated. Mara Thompson watched the battle unfold from the command center, her mind racing as she coordinated the defense. The odds were still stacked against them, but every victory, no matter how small, was a step closer to survival. She knew that the Rinthar would regroup and try again, but each moment that passed gave the humans an edge. They were winning, but it wasn't over yet. With every wave of the Rinthar fleet, the humans learned more about their adversaries, more about their weaknesses. The battle was no longer just about survival, it was about turning the tide, and the humans had found a way to do just that. The battle raged on, with each strike and counterstrike leaving the enemy more confused and frustrated. The humans weren't just holding their ground, they were making the Rinthar pay for underestimating them. In the end, it wasn't the sheer might of the human force that tipped the balance. It was their ability to think, to adapt, and to innovate. And that, the Rhinthar would learn too late, was something no empire, no matter how vast, could ever defeat. The battle had raged for what seemed like an eternity, with Sol Station standing resolute against the overwhelming might of the Rhinthar fleet. But when the final shots were fired, and the dust settled in the cold, vast expanse of space, one truth became undeniable. Humanity had won. The Rhinthar, battered and confused by the unexpected resilience of the humans, had no choice but to retreat. Their fleet, once so sure of their victory, now turned tail and disappeared into the depths of space, leaving Sol Station in peace. For the crew, it was a victory not just in battle, but in spirit. Captain Mara Thompson stood on the command deck, gazing out at the empty space where the hostile fleet had once been. There was no cheering, no celebration, only a quiet recognition of what had been accomplished. But behind that calm was the knowledge that they had achieved something far greater than mere survival. This victory, this moment of triumph, wasn't just about the defeat of an enemy. It was the beginning of something much bigger. The mysterious alien ship that had been at the heart of the battle was no longer just an enigma to be repaired. It was now a partner, a key player in the future of humanity's place in the galaxy. The intelligence within the ship, once cryptic and alien, had formed an unprecedented bond with the humans who had repaired and learned from it. They had unlocked new technologies, discovered concepts that had never crossed their minds, and, most importantly, built a bridge to a future where humanity was no longer the underdog, but a force to be reckoned with. Sol Station, once just a humble repair hub for ships in need, had transformed into a symbol of human ingenuity and determination. It had become the epicenter of a technological revolution. The crew had shown the galaxy that there was no problem too difficult to solve, no technology too advanced to understand, and no challenge too great to overcome. And as the warships of the Rhinthar faded into the distance, new ships appeared on the horizon. Alien vessels from species far and wide, all making their way toward Sol Station. Some came seeking repairs, others hoping to learn from the humans who had defeated the impossible. As the days passed, more and more species arrived, curious about the methods and technologies that had turned the tide of the battle. They wanted to understand the secret of the human ingenuity that had outsmarted the most fearsome empire in the galaxy. Humanity's reputation had shifted overnight, and the repair station was now a beacon for those seeking knowledge, innovation, and hope. As the crew of Sol Station continued to expand their knowledge, they found themselves teaching the very same principles that had helped them defeat the Rhinthar: resourcefulness, creativity, and an unwavering belief that no problem was insurmountable. Slowly, the galaxy began to see humanity not as a fledgling species, struggling to survive, but as a powerful force capable of great things. The reputation of Sol Station spread like wildfire, and soon, it became the most sought-after destination in the galaxy. Ships didn't just come for repairs. They came to learn from the humans who had proven that there was no challenge that couldn't be met. In the years that followed, Sol Station blossomed into a hub of knowledge and collaboration. It became a place where species from every corner of the galaxy gathered not only to fix their ships, but to exchange ideas, share technologies, and build partnerships that had once seemed impossible. The humans, once dismissed as insignificant by many, had risen to the top through sheer perseverance and brilliance. They had proven that the true power of any species lay not in its strength, but in its ability to think, to innovate, and to overcome. The battle against the Rhinthar had been the spark, but the fire that followed was something far greater. Humanity had taken its place at the forefront of a new intergalactic era, where no one did it better than them. And as Captain Thompson looked out across the bustling docks of Sol Station, watching ships of all sizes come and go, she knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was wide, full of challenges and opportunities, and humanity was ready to meet them head-on.